You don't get to stare at the thumbnail, brother. It's when I set it up. If I'm not quite ready yet, the thumbnail stays up there letting everybody know that I'm about to be ready. That's what it is. I wasn't quite ready yet. What's up, guys? How about today, man? How about these people with the... What's up, man? People today getting a little crazy over the whole warm-up thing, right? Man, guys were getting all uptight, and they were getting all in their feelings, and they were getting all butthurt about stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is what I need to start doing. I need to start getting into those feelings so I can really make sure I make contact with those subscribers. You know, that's the best way to retain somebody on here, is if you get in their feelings and you get them emotional. That's the best way to keep a subscriber on your channel. And then eventually, after a little bit of hate, they love you. They love you like your family. Seriously. Yeah, I think people completely missed the concept of what I was talking about earlier with that video. It was just as simple as me basically like saying, guys, like, look, you can go out and start your car and just let it run a little bit and then get in the car and go. It doesn't have to be up to operating temperature. It doesn't have to have any of that. You can literally just get in the car and go. I didn't even say at time, you know, but some other guys that I used as video clip-ins, which the video got demonetized anyway because I got a message from YouTube saying that one of the creators from one of the other videos, it says ineligible for monetization, even though most of the information was my information anyway. It says ineligible for monetization, and this person has not chose to strike or put a claim against you or anything, that they could possibly be monitoring how well the video is doing so they can see if they allow you to put it up on the channel so they can share monetization with you, or they can put in a claim so you get a strike against your channel. And I'm like, how does that even work? So if my video does very, very well and they can make a ton of money off of it, they would rather say, okay, go ahead and let that guy use my content. He's doing better than I would have. Or the guy has the option to say, no, I think it's wrong what he did by using my little clip. Strike against him. It's like, how do you even give people the option to do that? That seems like a double-edged sword. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Anyway, you know, I just thought that was kind of funny earlier that there's all these other people, Engineering Explained, the real popular guy from Australia and stuff like that. Some of the nicest, biggest brains on social media that are teaching people about automotive say the exact same thing that I said originally, that I've always said, and people still will try to argue with you about it. It's kind of funny. It gets kind of goofy when you get in people's feelings and stuff like that, because then you really get to see what they're made of. And when you ask people to explain things, and you know, it's kind of weird because I get a lot of, well, my uncle did this and my dad did that, and I'm not going to be able to see all the questions right away, man. So you're going to have to you're going to have to ask the question again. I'm just talking right. Scotty Kilmer is a badass. Yeah, Scotty Kilmer. Yeah, sure. If you like him, you like him, man. Whatever, dude. He doesn't do nothing for me, but I'm glad he does for you. Anyhow, you know, you get to talking to people about stuff that they've done their whole life, and when they finally realize that they've been doing something wrong their whole entire life, or they've been doing something that wasn't necessary, oh man, those little feeling tethers come out. They get upset about that. It's like when I was younger, before I really started getting into automotive stuff, I was building a 350 punch 30,000s, and we were using an Eagle rotating assembly. It comes out of 355, I believe is what it was. And we were installing the bearings and stuff, crank bearings and everything in it. And my uncle had pulled the container out of the shed, and he had it soaking in Mobil 1. And I was like, what are you doing? And he said, we're going to install them crank bearings in that block real quick. So, me being young, not knowing anything, I went ahead and I went right along with him doing it. We installed the crank bearings and put the motor together and stuff like that. And all these years later, I'm older, been through tech school, college, worked for, you know, multiple dealerships, things that he never got a chance to do in his life. Never got to work for a professional environment where you actually got taught by manufacturers and the principles and the reasons behind and why and all this other stuff. Years later, I kind of sat down with him one day and I says, Unc, you do know the reason why that old 355 that you built, you spun a bearing, right? Right at about 10,000 miles, right? And he says, we never did find out why we did it. We just rebuilt it. I said, it's because when you install crank bearings in a block, you install them clean and dry. And he said, what are you talking about? You don't do that. You always lube up your bearings when you go back into a fresh build. I said, no, you don't, Unc. Those bearings have to mate with the crosshatch inside the block. They have to mate and seat in that crosshatch. And that's actually what helps hold them and stops them from rotating. They get installed clean and dry, and that's by the book. That's by the builder's book, by the machinist book. They get installed clean and dry. You lubricate the rotating side, but you don't lubricate the side that mates in the block. And he was like, hell, I've been doing that my whole life, and I never realized I was doing it wrong. I said, you know how many people are out there? Do you know how many people are out there that they've been doing stuff their whole entire life, and they don't even realize that they were doing it wrong? So you get some young guy like me in his mid-30s, guys pushing 40, on social media learning how to use the app and get information out there to older guys, older gals, and they start to feel inferior. And the feelings start to come out. And the defense mechanism starts to come out. And you deal with a little bit of that pushback for a while. And you have to try to figure out, are you going to be able to break through that barrier and gain a subscriber that's going to be part of your family? Or are you going to be able to get a message across to that person that you would appreciate it if they would sit around on the channel long enough and hear what you have to say. Hear what I have to say. Let me help you. Use me for information and advice. And let's see where we can go from there. Maybe eventually you will learn to like and understand what I have to say. And I've had many people over the last year say, you know what, when I first started listening to you, I thought you were kind of harsh. I thought you were kind of brash. I thought you were trying to change everything about the way I was doing things. But eventually they come around and they're like, I started doing things the way that you're telling people the way you do things, and I find that it works a lot better. I said, well, yeah, because who do you think I got taught from? It's guys like you that learned over the years that had to get themselves out of those bad habits, or maybe they never learned the bad habits and they learned the right way from the beginning, and then they just expanded off of that and they taught guys like me. And those are the guys that are in the schools teaching and stuff now. Those are the guys running us through these programs and teaching us how to build, performance motors and stuff. These guys that have been doing it their whole life. Now, if you've never been exposed to those kind of people or those wise minds in the industry, you're probably never going to actually learn the right way or a more efficient way to do it. So a lot of people on the video earlier that I made, you'd see comments pop up throughout the day. Well, I warm up my diesel and that's just how it is. Okay, that's great. You have twice the engine, twice the oil capacity, or if not trace 3 times the oil capacity. I would expect you to run it a little bit longer before you take off. That's common knowledge. That's common sense. That's the ungiven or the unannounced common sense side of automotive. Sure. And then somebody else said, well, I don't care what's right, and a lot of people said, I don't care what's right and I don't care what's wrong. I just want to warm up my vehicle because I like heat. Okay, that's fine. I'm not telling you to stop doing what you're doing. I responded to a subscriber that wanted a clear, concise answer, and I gave a clear, concise answer. Somebody pushed back and said that they knew more than me, that they're older than me, they've been doing this longer than me, and that the way I was explaining things was wrong. The rebuttal to that was excessive idling is what I was talking about, is nonsense. It does nothing but destroy motors. We've seen that for years and years and years now. People like to take your videos and your main point and they like to twist it, and they try to make it what they want it to be. And this is a common tactic of people on social media. You can put out a clear, concise message that fits in this box, and this is what you're talking about. The message goes in this box, and you've laid out all your points. By the time you get done with that message, you feel pretty good about how you laid it out and how you supported your case. You can post it. Later on in the evening, somebody will pop up and say, well, you know, this, and this, da 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 da. And I'm like, bro, that was not what my message was about. My message was about this. You're trying to take it and tweak it and take it another direction and make my video and my platform yours. But if you want, I can go there and I can make you look like a child and I can explain things completely different rather than you listening to me right now because it's no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong. So what do I do? Because everybody else is saying what this gentleman said, I have to fix that. I have to entertain my audience. I have to let you guys know what I feel is right and what's wrong. And I don't want to delete people's comments. You know, if they're not being rude and they're just wrong, I'm not going to delete their comments. I'm going to leave them up. The problem is, if I leave that information up and I don't clear up what is right and what's wrong about that person's comments, I feel like I failed you guys. So my response to that was, no, you do not need to warm up your vehicle to full operating temperature. You don't need to warm up your vehicle at all. Literally, you have the ability to get in your vehicle, start it up, and go. Now, there are some areas in there that can affect you doing that. Now, if you have a transmission that's going out, if you have a partially clogged filter or something, you will experience on a cold engine that you'll go start it up and you'll try to move, and it's like you're just neutraling the transmission out. Now, as you heat up the transmission fluid and stuff, it'll thin out a little bit, and it will start to pass through the filter in whatever way it can, and it'll start to shift. So those instances are circumstantial to the person individually. This is where we kind of go back to people taking your videos and your information and twisting them to turn it into what they want it to be rather than what you're actually talking about. You know, it's like people say, I start my car up and I warm it up because I like heat. Okay, that's fine. That's great. I'm clapping for you. I want to bake you a batch of cookies right now and tell you a bedtime story. That's fabulous. Congratulations. That's not what the video was about at all. Maybe you missed the entire point. But okay, I get it. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thanks for the comment and the algorithm boost. I get it. You know, so it's hard sometimes to entertain people on social media because they don't know how to stay on track. They don't know how to stay focused on the message. They don't know how to think and use common sense sometimes. The most of us do. Most of us know what the message is and they get it. But there's also a big percent of people that they just have lack thereof. And that's the only way that I can put it and be nice. Okay, now that I've explained what I need to explain about the videos earlier, let's Lee, who's this, Lee Senior or whatever, please move on. You'll notice that I'm the director of this channel and I'll move on when I'm ready to move on, and that's how this channel works. When I open the table up to you to ask questions, that's when you can ask questions. That's how I run the channel. Until I pay you to be my director, sit tight, sweetie. I don't take orders from people because I'm helping for free. So let's make that clear. Anything. Let's move from there. I mean, what do you guys got? Hey, Corby. Somebody asked about an F-150 earlier. Incentives and cough to help. I'm hurting. I'm hurting really. I got this phone turned weird. Uh-oh, Grass with the super chat again. Man, thank you. I appreciate it. The first problem was I haven't went to the bathroom in like 2.5 days since the surgery, so I knew that was a problem. I appreciate the super chat as always. Grass is always very, very kind. Going to the bathroom, and the doctor said you got to be very, very careful of that. You have to be careful of when you have the hernia surgery. you can really do some damage to yourself and you'll end up in the hospital. So finally, after 2.5 days and me being worried, thinking that I may have to end up back in the hospital again, I was finally able to go to the bathroom. Thanks for the content. I love the channel. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Did you guys see that the let me address this question real quick. Somebody actually did ask a question. 2014 F-150 EcoBoost rough idle. Changed plugs, gapped them to spec, still rough idle. Yeah, but what else did you do? Did you check, make sure the intake manifold was sealed? Did you check and make sure all your connections from your airbox to the intake manifold was good? Did you make sure that PCV pipe and stuff that likes to pop off is actually plugged in all the way? Did you actually make sure that the MAF sensor was plugged back in after changing an air filter? Or the throttle body on those like to go bad very it's not a common problem, but it's not an uncommon problem. So the throttle bodies act up on those F-150s as well. So there's those basics. A lot of people think I've done plugs and I've done coils and stuff like that. Why is it still running rough? Well, you could be low on compression. Once you start getting a 14 model F-150 up there in miles and stuff like that, there's a lot of times they get 120, 130,000 miles on them, and they start losing a little bit of compression. And you start getting a little bit more lower end knock coming from the block and stuff like that because of rod tolerances, crank tolerances. Then you have to actually start adding something like an 80 weight or a 50 weight Lucas to your oil as a stabilizer to keep that oil pressure and stuff up. But aside from that, intake manifold leak, induction piping from the actual air filter over, PCV tubing, and the throttle body are the main ones I always find that are causing the rough running condition. Not so much intake manifold as much as the actual tubing itself and the throttle body. And make sure that that wire harness, you see, if you watch the videos lately, you'll see that we popped up with an earlier model F-150, which happened to be my favorite F-150s in the EcoBoost line, or the 11 to 14s. You'll see that we actually popped up with a harness rub through on the passenger cylinder head that was causing some issues with rough running and eventually taking out an ignition coil, backfeeding the harness, taking out the PCM drivers in the PCM. So make sure you reach back there every once in a while and feel for that harness where it starts to bend down right by the passenger cylinder head. Caress it like you're making love to it. Put your hand on that sucker and actually run your hand down it and feel for it if it's rubbing through anywhere back there. Semper Fi mechanic, man, y'all need to check him out too. He's a vet. He's going through some issues right now with an unruly customer that has decided that he wanted to take out some problems on him. He did a job for a guy, and I know the job very well. I know the job all too well because I've done it way too much in chassis and out of chassis. And I hate doing that job in chassis, the timing chains and water pump on that. But he recommended that we don't do just chains. We do guides, we do chains, let's just do it all while we're there. Just knock it out and do it the right way. And the customer had declined or didn't want to pay for all the repairs or declined the other repairs and just wanted to do the chains only. And he had suggested against that. He said, let's do the job right. Let's get it all done. And the customer declined the work, and he did what the customer wanted done. And then once the motor actually did end up having some issues, or technically going out on him, because of him not listening to Semper Fi, he ended up taking him to court to sue him for the damages that were done to the engine, even though he has documentation stating that the customer signed, saying that they were very aware of everything that was going on. So he's going to win in the long run, but now he's out lawyer fees and everything else. And I wish he could turn around and stick it to this guy, man. I hate people like that. They're scumbags. And if his channel was as big as this channel is now, he would be able to have you guys rally behind him for that support to help take care of good, honest people, especially a veteran that's put his life on a line for this country, and then turn around in a civilian that didn't offer themselves up the way he did and is still trying to provide a service for his community and knows the guy from school, mutual parent at the school, where his daughter goes to school, or child, I think it's his daughter, and did that to him, man. It's he's a mobile mechanic, so it's a little bit different. Um, I would, if I had the money, I would get done with the court case, and then I'd turn around and countersue, and I'd make that man pay for everything that he made me lose, and the humiliation and how my name got spread around, like it did because of the lack of integrity, empathy, and honesty that all has to go along with this. When you have such low life scum customers that do stuff like that, people need to know about that. They deserve to know, especially when you have all the supporting documentation to go along with it. People need to know that that's the type of person they're dealing with. Because I'd get his name out there and I'd make every person out there know what type of person he is. So when he went to go get service done somewhere at a local garage, he would have been put right out the door. No thanks, we don't want your business. Go find somebody else. Okay. Vivid Mouse, thank you. I appreciate that. No cues, Rich. Just wishing you the best, mate. I appreciate that. It's always nice and kind of you. I do really have like the best followers on here, and it's not just because of that. It's just because a lot of you guys really do support me. You let me talk about my personal life and kind of like get involved with getting to know me, and I love that. But the other night I had to. I don't know if you guys know Claw Boss, the bus driver guy. You see, recently he got let loose from his job. They fired him. Um, Thank you, Corby. I appreciate that, man. You're cool too, man. Um, he got let go from his job because of his YouTube channel, and a bunch of people made up some bad information about him or something like that, and they said something about they didn't like his YouTube channel, so he got fired from the bus company, and then they pushed him out of the district. And anyway, there's a guy that goes to creators' channels. Anthony, you guys might see that. Um, Sean, Chuck, Preston. I don't know if you guys remember a face popping up from time to time, but the guy's name was Reggio, Reggieo, and the guy goes and attacks bigger name content creators, and he'll say some of the most ridiculous, really ugly stuff to people, attack them personally, say stuff about their family and everything else. And I had somebody on the channel recently doing that to me, and I couldn't figure out who this guy was. And I talked to the moderators on the channel about it. Llama, you're always here. Llama, you're now a moderator on the channel. I hope you're okay with that. You're always here. JD, I am I'm feeling well, but I hurt really bad. It's hard for me to get. Once I get in the chair, I'm fine. Once I go to get out of the chair and I have to use my abdominal wall to actually support my body, it feels like people are cutting my stomach open with knives. It's terrible. It's like one of the worst pains ever. But it's getting better. And Claw Boss had responded to um, Claw Boss had actually responded to the Reggio guy that was attacking me, and you guys thought I was being sensitive about this guy or people like him. No, I mean, it was really becoming bad. They were actually sending me emails, calling me, somehow found out a number of mine and stuff, and was harassing me. They were going to the extent of really, really tracking people down, creators down, and attacking them. You guys don't know what goes on behind the scenes. And I kept a lot of stuff quiet because I was trying to get to the bottom of who it was, and I finally found out who it was, and I threatened the person with a police report. And I said, I'll call the police right now and I'll report you. You don't know you don't know who I am, but I know who you are because the way you're talking, I can put together the last few weeks of you attacking me. So when Claw Boss was getting attacked by this guy, I was also getting attacked by this guy. And I finally figured out who it was, and I saved all the screenshots, and I told the person on this Google phone number that they called me from, I was like, what the do you I was like, you want me to call the police right now, or stop calling my phone? And then finally, the person realized I really knew who they were. I saved the phone number, I saved all the screenshots and stuff, and then all of a sudden they left me alone, and they quit because I started to catch on to what they were doing. So when I started to catch on what was going on, the person left me alone and I blocked him from the channel. I kicked him off the channel. And then ironically, I seen that guy, Claw Boss, he's got like almost a million subscribers or something like that. He was also getting attacked by that guy. And I was like, man, what the heck is going on with the social media stuff, man? People are really trying to wreak havoc on creators just because they can. Let me go back to these. Daniel, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the super chat. Ron says, love your channel and your info, Oregon. Thanks. Chad. Storm and Norman, I appreciate you as always. Chad, where did I miss your... Yeah, I said thank you. Oh, did I not say thank you? I might not have said thank you. I appreciate it, Chad. Thank you. I mean, y'all don't have to send these super chats. I'm just telling you, I do appreciate it, and I know y'all are helping me out for all that I do for people, and I get that. But I'm just saying, you're not obligated to do that. It does help me, it does, but you're not obligated to do that. Let me go back and look and see if I missed anybody. Alberto Loyola says, this is going back to the F-150 EcoBoost. Did the leak test on the piping and intake? All checks out as well. MAF sensor, PCV as well. When you say you checked out the MAF sensor, how did you check out the MAF sensor? Did you actually pull up a scanner and look and see what the MAF sensor was reading to make sure that the grams per second was about the same as what the liter of engine you have is, give or take just a hair? Because it should be ballpark, whatever the liter of your engine is. That's just a kind of rule of thumb. And I see a lot of them, they're not. You know, you'll have like a 5.0 liter motor, and you're expecting to see something like, 4.7 to 5.4 grams per second. But the MAF sensor's reading at idle 2.2 grams per second. That's a problem. That's going to cause some running issues. Fuel, I mean, it could be fuel. You could have a oxygen sensor or something starting to act up that could cause it to be running weird, erratic. You could have some compression loss on one of the cylinders, so you're gonna have to either do a leak down test, a compression test, or actually find IDS. Get a hold of somebody with IDS so you can hook it up to the FORScan tool, run a relative compression test, and then run a cylinder contribution test to see if you crossed everything else out and everything's working fine. It could be down to hard internal components, or something could be wrong with how the computer's trying to control everything. I mean, if you've done all the basic stuff that you said you've done, it might be time to hang it up and actually take it to somebody if you don't have the equipment to do it. I hate to say that, but sometimes it is what it is. I had to sit on the phone with a gentleman that's on the channel for about 3 hours, about a month and a half ago, because we were at the verge of him taking it to a dealership to figure out why he had a crank no start with his Ford Escape. But I was able to pick his brain and get enough questions and answers and stuff out of him for 3 hours to finally find out that when he had done some work in the fuse box previously, he had mixed up some fuses and he did not put them back in the right location. And after I picked his brain, went through the wiring schematic, had him send me pictures of the fuse box, I was able to pinpoint it all down to one specific area, and I was able to actually tell him how to fix it. And the car started up, and it's been running fine ever since. And his wife has been without a car for a little while now, and he's a really great guy, and I think I can consider him a friend, the amount of time that we've spent online talking to each other and stuff like that. But that's the type of stuff I do for people. I don't ask people for money or anything for that. It was 3 hours of my evening that I actually got in trouble for when I got home. I got yelled at by the girlfriend because she was like, what have you been doing for 3 hours? You were supposed to be home with me and Jenna and watching family night and stuff like that, and we were having a nice dinner and projector movie, and we were supposed to do something. And I was like, baby, I'm so sorry, I forgot. And I gave it to one of the subscribers on the channel instead of you, and I apologize. I shouldn't have done that. I completely forgot. I heard somebody in distress. I heard somebody that needed help, and I wanted to help them. And then when I got home, he heard her distress and angry with me on the phone because I literally talked to the guy all the way to the door into the kitchen And he was like, "Ooh, sounds like you're in trouble." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I have to fix this." Uh, I'm glad everything went good with you and your. I'm glad we got your wife's car up and going and stuff like that. So I have to patch up what just happened because I see somebody that needs help and I just help them. I don't think about the consequences that sometimes I could be putting off my own family, my own life, and stuff like that. But push came to shove, and I was almost ready to tell him, "Look, seems like you're gonna have to take it to the dealer, buddy." And I was able to help him right before we got to that point. So it may be one of those things where if you don't have all the equipment and stuff like that, you're gonna have to take it to the dealer. I mean, trying to see if I missed anything. John, uh, it's going good. I'm sore. It's hard for me to get up, in a lot of pain and stuff. Um, does 36,000 mile warranty cover APM BCM? Yeah, it does. 36,000 mile, 3 year, bumper to bumper. That means everything is covered, other than like wear items and stuff like brakes. Anybody that I'm gonna scroll to the bottom because I can't keep up with the comments. Um, because sitting down actually makes my stomach feel better. If I'm laying flat, it really pulls on my abdominal wall all the way across, and it hurts really bad. So if I'm sitting and I kind of relax my abdominal wall, and it's just my obliques holding me up, or I'm sitting in the lazy boy, I feel good. But when I go to lay down or stand up all the way, like right here, when I take my chest and I open it up all the way, it starts to hurt. It's still sore and it's not healing all the way. It's going to be some time. So anybody that wanted to ask questions I missed earlier when I went on my little side rant, please ask the question again. I appreciate it. I got my phone turned weird. I got my phone turned this way instead of this way. So when I scroll, you guys catch the corner of my finger scrolling. I'm trying to keep up with stuff. '03 Windstar slams in gear from takeoff and keeps breaking motor mounts. Any ideas? We get a lot of Windstars in our shop, and I mean a lot, that have bad transmissions. It seems like those Windstars go through transmissions like it's nothing. Torque converter problems, valve body issues, and stuff like that. So I wouldn't necessarily know exactly what to tell you, but what I can tell you is the transmissions in the Windstars are absolutely junk. We still, to this day, people don't want to get rid of them, and they're always coming into the shop, and they're always getting rebuilt on those Windstars. '04 F-150 won't shift from park unless headlights are off. Okay, so if headlights are on, that means you're stealing power from your brake circuit, your switch, and if the headlights are on, they're using up all the available amperage to operate that circuit, then you're going to have to figure out where the short is in that circuit. There's something going on with that headlight circuit and that brake switch circuit, and you need to trace that down to figure out why. Because when the headlights are on, the power that's supplied there, it's being pulled to the headlights, and eventually could cause further problems. So if I was you, I would trace that brake circuit back and figure out where it's shorted or where it's rubbing. Try to figure out what those two wires have in common, or what the two circuits have in common, or trace the wire back to figure out, because that's what makes sense to me. Something shorted out there. It's not a fuse or relay thing because you're getting power there. That's not the problem. It's it's something to do with the wiring or connection. Something screwed up somewhere in the connector itself or in the wiring itself. Something, I would just trace the harness down, follow the wires back. It's not that hard to do it on that vehicle. Go underneath your brake pedal where the brake switch is at and follow those wires back. If you need help finding like a wiring schematic or something, let me get back to work and I'll get on the computer and I'll get you a wiring schematic for that so we can actually look and see exactly where those wires go, and then I can point you in a better direction. But right now, being proactive, there's nothing stopping you from actually inspecting that harness from that brake switch behind the brake pedal. Follow the wires that come out of that switch back there. It's either going to be behind the pedal or it's going to be further up with a little metal tab off to the side, and it's a little white plunger or whatever color plunger it is. Follow the wires that come out of that, and that's what makes contact and breaks contact with your brake light circuit. And sounds to me like the supply side of that is shorted out to your headlight side, and there's something going on there. What did we do? I don't know what that was all about. The dealership is declining to file a claim on it. 31,000 miles. I'm not sure what. I'm getting lost here with the amount of. I'm behind. Daniel, hope your recovery is quick. I think it's actually. Question, am I correct that you said there's still no fix for the EcoBoost rattle? If you're talking about the cam phaser rattle, it's hit or miss. You know, I've seen guys put brand new updated cam phasers in brand new 3.5 EcoBoost F-150s and then come back 10,000 miles rattling again. I've seen guys put phasers in and they never come back. It's hit or miss. You know, to say that that's a permanent fix, no, I can't tell you that. The programming seems to be hit or miss. The phasers seem to be hit or miss. Some people believe it's a locking pin type design, so that's the failure. So whenever the phaser goes to retard to its non-oil pressure or neutral out position, when you shut the key off, the locking pin doesn't relock back to the cam. So when you go to start it back up and you build oil pressure, this is why I like flood mode, you give the oil a chance to get up there and push that pin, unlock that pin from the phaser itself and the camshaft, and it won't rattle back and forth. It won't beat on that pin, that locking pin. It seems to be that it's kind of hit or miss with the locking type design. It's not really working like people think it is, but then some people say they don't have any problems at all. I can't tell you that, you know, that it is fixed. It doesn't seem like it is. It's hit or miss. I mean, FORScan may be able to do relative compression. Some people asked me about it today, and I couldn't really get into it with people because, you know, people, when they ask about FORScan, they want me to tell them everything about it over the internet or over a comment, and I can't do that. It's just not possible. Google FORScan, FORScan. Make sure you have the right laptop with the right operating system to operate that program. It's completely free. Download it to your laptop. You can talk to Mazda and Ford vehicles with it, and then you go on Amazon, or you can find other deals somewhere else where you buy the OBD Link EX connector that goes from the laptop to your interface port in the vehicle. And it's like a $40 to $50 dongle, little wire that goes in between. So you're basically paying 40 or 50 bucks for a program that you can use forever. Just renew it every year. I pay for the lifetime subscription because I appreciate the support they give me. So I just paid the 50 bucks for the lifetime subscription, and I bought the $50 dongle on Amazon, OBD, onboard diagnostic, OBD Link EX. They have a wireless version as well. I have not tried that yet, so I can't tell you guys how good the wireless version is. And you know, you can do most of your stuff right with FORScan right to your vehicle right there. It's hard for me to tell you all that in a comment, so I'd rather explain it in a video. But then people don't want to go research the video or figure out where that video is at, so it's like, what do, you know? Hipsters and hippies, yeah, everything's good for me so far. It's just I've been stuck in the house for the last 3 days. Tonight was the first night where I actually slowly, very, very carefully moved out to the car. I wanted to start the car and let it run for a little bit. And then I went out there, started the car, did not let it warm up. Jumped in the car, ran down to the pizza place, grabbed pizza and stuff for everybody because nobody wanted a healthy dinner tonight. It's just too much work with the going lately. And then I came home. I was gone for maybe about 30 minutes. Got out of the house for a little bit. Felt good because I feel like I'm getting claustrophobic being stuck here. And Yeah, I'm all right. Just sore, very very sore. Do the transmissions on the newer Fusions have any problems? Anything to prevent the issues? Yeah, they do. The 6F35s? Sure they do. Keep the fluid changed all the time. Every like 20,000 miles, just drop the fluid and change it. It's really, I was talking to our trans guy, and he was like, yeah, he's rebuilding them all the time. All the time. And he said, the best thing to do is keep the fluid changed. They say it's a lifetime fluid, it's a 50,000 mile fluid. It's not. You look at the fluid at 20 and 30,000 miles, and it's just as black as tar. So he said the more you service that transmission and those fusions, the healthier and the longer it's going to live. That's going to be your best bet. Do you service Lincoln vehicles as well? Of course I do. Also, with my new boxes, my efficiency increased? No, it hasn't. I feel more comfortable in the new box, but my efficiency has not increased because I had more tools to fill up the box anyway, so I just bought more tools to fill up the box. New to your channel, love the videos. Is the 1.5 liter EcoBoost a good engine? Recently got a 2017 Ford Escape with 53,000 miles. Thank you, get better soon. Mike, unfortunately, that motor's not a good engine. Uh, it is a very, you can get great fuel mileage with that motor, and it's very peppy while it's doing good, but they had something that was called a coolant intrusion issue. And the way the block was designed from the factory, they put these saw blade, what I call a saw blade, I mean the thickness of a saw blade, they put these slits down between the cylinder walls, and then they put the head on top of the block. And what ended up happening is when the vehicle started getting 25 to 30,000 miles plus on it, coolant would start to seep over into the cylinder, and you would start burning coolant. And there's a update on the block, and it's a new block that has a new updated design. And after it's all rebuilt with the new block and put back together, as long as it's still under warranty or you have an extended coverage that will pay for that, there's the TSB out on it. You can go through the library and you can see all the information that I already have posted. The 1.5 liter, the 1.6 liter, and the 2.0 liter EcoBoost have the coolant intrusion problem from about 2014 to mid 2019. Periodically, there's issues inside there, and I've replaced all those engines and rebuilt all those engines. Uh, they're not a very good motor, just to be honest with you. They're not. They're a dirty motor. It's not a very good motor, and Ford made a mistake with designing the block the way that they did. Once you update the block and freshen everything up, it seems to be a really good motor and will last a long time. But some people get up to 100,000 miles or more without experiencing the coolant intrusion issue, but sometime in your life, you will start experiencing that with that 1.5 liter if the update hasn't been done already. So the way that you can find that out is by calling your local Ford dealer, giving them the VIN number, asking for the warranty history, or asking, has this motor already been updated with the new block? I think the base number is 6009 or 6007. Just say, has the coolant intrusion motor replacement or block replacement already been done on this vehicle? That should give you the peace of mind that you need and tell you, am I going to have to expect a problem in the future, or has it already been taken care of? That's the first step. Where can I find a tutorial or video for replacing the 10 body mounts on the 97 E159? Yeah, you ain't gonna find that here. Can you point me in the direction for good information for my 2017 Lexus RC350F Sport having reoccurring electrical issues? The car care nut, Chad, the car care nut, he's the Lexus Toyota guy, and he's like a guru when it comes to that stuff. So, do you have an LED light conversion? Might be a bad LED driver pulling silly current loads. I don't know. Backfeed through the wrong bulb somewhere. Yeah, it could be that too. Yeah, these guys. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get to all the questions at the same time. Could be a bad bulb or a bulb that's not meant to be in that vehicle. I didn't think about that. So good catch, guys. That's why we're all here, right? Does anyone know what band supplies AC Delco? Band? brand. Oh, AC Delco. I don't know who it is. I just use Valvoline Max Life. That's what I was thinking, Anthony. There's a short to power, but you could also have a short to power and a bulb causing an issue too. What do you say? Crashes, crashes? Can I be blue now? Yeah, Corey said if someone put a single filament bulb in the wrong spot, it can cause issues too. I've had that happen. I've actually had a bulb go out and then fall. What was it on one of the other? Somehow when it broke, it fell across to the other filament and was causing all kinds of issues inside the electrical system. So I just pulled all the bulbs in the back of the vehicle and changed them all once I identified that, because they were like all black. Some of them were about to go out. I went to a private hospital for the surgery because the VA was kind of jerking me around and kept making up all kinds of issues why they weren't ready to do it and kept changing the date. So I just used my insurance through work. Is it worth buying a clone VCM? I don't know. I've seen guys say that they have good issues or good luck, but I've also seen guys say that they've wasted $400 or $500 on the Chinese clones. Flood mode. Flood mode's basically when you just hold the accelerator pedal to the floor and you crank the engine over. It disables the injectors, or it could disable disables the injector so it's not spraying fuel, and it clears out the intake. Basically, while you're doing that and you're cranking the vehicle over, it's not starting, so you're actually pulling oil up into the system and you're priming the system. So it's like how I like to do my oil changes. If I'm not going to sit there and slowly pour oil down the inlet ports of the filter, I'll prime the oil system using flood mode. And I'll get in the customer's vehicle and I'll hold the pedal to the floor and then I'll crank with a key. I have a video on it explaining it, so you can find the video and it'll show you what to do. Pedal to the floor, turn the key, crank, 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 and as long as the pedal's to the floor, it won't start. It'll prime that oil system. If it's a push to start, same way. Pedal to the floor, click the button. It'll crank over. Hold the brake. So brake and pedal to the floor, push to start. It'll crank, 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 crank. Let go of the gas, and it'll fire right up. While you're still cranking, or you can reset and just do the brake and ignition by itself. Push to start. 03 Ford Ranger, cam sync noise at idle, before and after new motorcraft part. Check gauge light and oil pressure. Flickering at idle, connected. Want to get rid of the howling noise. How? Blake, unfortunately, I'm not super familiar with the older Ford Rangers. I have only worked on a few of them, so I don't have a lot of experience with the older ones. Maybe one of these other guys here. Some stuff, the older stuff I've done, some of it I haven't. Got an '08 F-150, 250,000 miles, 5.4 skipping and bucking while going uphill. 40 mile an hour. Suspected the torque converter replaced it, and it still does it. Well, have you shifted into different gears? Have you actually pulled a gear selector down and put it in like first gear, second gear, or something like that, and see if it's a gear related problem? Have you actually tried to do something with the transmission gears to make sure it's still not skipping and bucking? Because if it's still doing it and you're not letting it shift into other gears, then you could have some kind of ignition related concern that's just not showing itself until you put it under extreme load. FORScan is free. Rick said FORScan is not free. There are guys on here that have told me that they don't have to pay anything. They just sign up for the 1 year subscription, and it was free at the time. I mean, it was free whenever I bought my $50 lifetime subscription on mine. So at the time, it did have a free category, and then it had like a 5 year or something like that, and then it had like a lifetime. And the guys were telling me how they trick the system is they'll download FORScan and they'll do the free trial per se, and then at the end of the trial, they'll just keep renewing it or something like that, and they never have to pay for it. I don't like doing that. Jay said, how do you put a Ford in flood mode? I just explained that, so I think you just asked the question, Ties. Entire cam sensor. Thanks, Anthony. I appreciate it. I'll catch you later. Hi, buddy from the UK here. What time is it where you're at? Where it's 9:49 at night here. Joe Jago says the fix for a Ford engine is to put a Chevy in it. I don't necessarily think that's true. Maybe one of the older pre 2007 Chevy engines, sure, but after that, junk without having to do a ton of work. I mean, just the other day, Dingbat Garage was another 21 Yukon in the shop again for lifter issues. So, yeah, you can keep your newer Chevy engines and all the problems that they have right along with all the Ford problems. So, and what a lot of you guys don't realize is when you're talking trash about the Ford engines and the Chevy engines and Ford transmissions and the Chevy transmissions, some of them are the same. They use the same components. I can go to Chevy and get the same parts for my Ford Trans. Thank you, Rich. All the time you spent helping us. I have a F-150 2008 with a back diff noise. Should I take it to a general mechanic or a transmission shop? A general mechanic's gonna be fine. He's gonna whip that out. No problem at all. It's not a specialty job. Any decent technician can take care of that. What are your opinions on wet belts? I don't necessarily like them. We have a 1 liter Ford engine that has a wet belt, and I mean, you could get them with 10,000 miles, the motor's already locked up because the oil pump, the belt's slipping, the oil pump's not doing its job, the motor's toast. One of them little 1 liter engines, you just pick right up, right out of the Fiesta. You just pick it up with your hands if you want to, and set it on the ground, drop a new one in. Oh, wait, F-150, 250,000 miles, 5.4 skipping and bucking. I've seen that one already. MT82 trans needs warmed up a little. They don't want to shift cold. It's true. They've also had shift concern problems that we've seen at the dealership where we've had to go through them as well. So those transmissions sometimes can be very finicky. 30K trans fluid change on the EcoBoost. Yeah, 30K max on the EcoBoost. Max. 2012 F-150 has grinding and thumping with turns while accelerating after a level kit installed. Driver side has new CV axle since, but still occurring. Well, if you put a new CV axle in it, Chris, did you put a new IWE in it? Because if you didn't put a new IWE in it, when you put the CV axle in it, chances are the IWE is bad. I have plenty of videos on how to check your IWE and make sure that it's not screwed up. And that's the aluminum looking cover that the CV axle goes through. It's got the 2 nipples on it. It's got a vent port and a vacuum port. I have videos on how to check that and make sure that's not your problem. But a lot of times they can start intermittently going bad, and once they start going bad, if it's been happening long enough and the chattering is bad enough, it can actually start taking out the splines of the wheel bearing as well. So every once in a great while, I'll find when I go to pull those CV axles and stuff out, not only do I have to replace the IWE, which is like a $60 part at the dealership, you can probably find it cheaper online for like 30 bucks. You might even be able to get like an IWE kit for the front end for like $50 total from like Parts Geek or something like that. But I've had to replace the wheel bearing as well because it'll start chattering on those wheel bearing teeth also. So it's something to do with the way that CV axle is positioned in that wheel bearing IWE assembly. You're gonna have to dig into that right there. I mean, it's something you should be able to do, but it comes down to the chattering, the clunky chunkiness is that assembly. Something's going on with it. BDO says, I can't do that lifetime stuff or 100K. It's stupid. It doesn't work. It's just a selling point. Even Ford themselves, when they come to the dealership and we talk to them, and I'm talking to Quick Lane, and I'm like, hey, I tell the customers all the time the truth about how this fluid is not going to last 100,000 miles in this vehicle like the Ford recommends. And they're like, yeah. Good thing we're different entities in the company because we tell people all the time that's not a good, it's a selling point. They say 100,000 mile lifetime, 150,000 mile fluid. It's how it's all these manufacturers use that to sell the vehicle. It's not true at all. How to turn off and on 2004 Ford Explorer all-wheel drive. I mean, some of them weren't. Some of those, if they're all-wheel drive, they're all-wheel drive. Like some of them had, some of them weren't. You weren't able to actually turn some things off. Like it would, wasn't it like some kind of smart type electric clutch system or something like that? I mean, I'm not real familiar with the early 2000 model Explorers and stuff. I'm lucky if I get a chance to work on them sometimes. It's all 2000, 2010 and up is what I typically work on. So a lot of the older stuff I may have had worked on it one time, but I don't have a lot of experience past like the last 12 or 13 years. I mean, you get back into the 60s with the 390s and the 460 Ford engines and stuff, and I've worked on some classic cars as doing restoration type stuff, but I wasn't a professional doing it by any means. I was just kind of winging my way through it and getting better and better as I went. Been working on a 12 F-150 with a 6.2, has an intermittent knocking noise, runs like it has a miss, and have been verified, commanded versus actual B1 and B2. So, Cobra, did you see my video on that with the 12? The 12 didn't have the IMRC like the later model did it? This is one of the 11 or 12 or 13 or something like that is when they first started the IMRC. And did you see my video on the IMRC? Did you just for shits and giggles, because I don't remember right now, did you actually see my video on the intake manifold runner command on and command off? I don't think that model had that. I don't think that came until what, like 2000s. Hell, I'd be lying if I even said it right now. I don't even remember what year that completely came in. I don't do enough of them. Knocking noise. We've had some of them come in where they're making knocking noise, and it was because a valve spring broke. You had to pull valve covers because we're chasing ourselves all over the place, and it was a broken valve spring. What do I think of the 2.0 EcoBoost with the 8-speed trans? I mean, I like them. They're peppy, but I mean, that's it. I don't really have much of an opinion. I love the 3-liter. 3-liter is an awesome VA hospital private. I already answered that. My grandma has a 2004 Explorer with a 4.6 in it. It keeps throwing a map sensor code. I don't know. I don't think it has a map sensor though. Map sensor or MAF sensor? Trying to think. Again, early 2000, mid 2000. I've done, cylinder head spark plug rethreads and tune-ups and stuff on them, but again, getting back into specifics, there's only so much I know on it. I would need to know if you're asking about MAF sensor or map sensor. Maybe one of the other guys in comment section here will be better help with that. Okay, so I see now, guys, I'm behind on comments because I don't even know where the hell I'm at. I just need to probably scroll forward because I probably got people yelling at me at the bottom of the chat already. Verify good valve springs and rocker arms. Fuel trims are also even. Cobra, email me on that. We'll have to brainstorm that. There's so many people asking questions right now. I'm not gonna be able to just think about the one thing right now. Does the 1.5 have coolant intrusion worse than the 2.0? Yes. ESP wants me to tear down a 1.62 failure. I mean, Jeff, if you just compression test the cooling system and then you pull the spark plugs and you see that it's leaking into the cylinders, I mean, you've already identified failure. Why would they want you to tear it down? Doesn't make any sense. The ESP already knows about the conditions with those motors. (2018) F-150 is it normal for turbocharger to go out at 90K? Had 2 people I know have them trip a code for it. I mean, it's not abnormal. It's not normal either, though. So, but let's just put it this way: it doesn't shock me. In my opinion, would you be okay with going 5W30 from 520? Yeah, you could. It's not gonna do nothing. I wouldn't. I mean, at 50,000 miles, you really shouldn't have a lot of engine wear, so I don't know that I would really push that. I would probably stick with 520 until I started getting up there like 75,000 miles plus, but it ain't gonna hurt anything. Good night, Ironsmith Industries. Are the 1.5, 2.0, and 2.7 EcoBoost engines timed to top dead center power stroke as a rule of thumb? Yeah, they are. Why did you skip the 1.6? You mean the 1.5, the 1.6, and the 2.0? No, I think spec for that motor, Cobra, isn't spec at idle once it's warmed up for that motor. It says something like, it's been a while since I looked. I think it does say something about 25 psi. 20, you might be right, getting a little low. Now we did have a. Now see, you're starting to spark my memory now. We actually did have a lawn company come in uh, about 2 months ago, and Rob, he's one of our main engine guys. The diesel guy wasn't here, so Rob had to pick up on the job, and I was doing a 1.5 short block in a Escape, and I see him pull the truck up in next to the alignment rack, and I was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he was like, "I got to try to figure out what's going on with this thing. I can't. It's not valve springs. It's not spark plugs. It's not ignition. It's knocking, and they don't know why it's knocking." And then I seen him reaching underneath the driver's side, and he had the gauge hooked up, and he said, "Look at that oil pressure at idle. It'll go 17 psi, and then it'll go up to 20, then back down to 15, and it'll go back up to 20." And he was like, "I got to put a motor in this thing. The motor's junk," and he had to put a motor in it. And that was a 6.2. We actually still have the motor sitting in the back of the shop where they never even came and picked it up yet. 3.5 EcoBoost F-150 versus Transit, how different are they? Water pump, engine block. I mean, it's all the same concept. Maybe different programming because of the weight or how it's designed, but I don't get into all that. I don't. A lot of people ask me, well, can I put this and that, or what's the difference between this and that? That's for people that have time to sit on like internet chat forums and stuff and try to figure out all the how to program and how to add this to your vehicle and what's the difference between this and that. Most of the time I'm not even thinking about that. I'm thinking about how to get in and fix the job and get it out the door. Make sure that it's right. So when people ask me like differences or can I do this versus can I do that, a lot of times I don't know because I'm not consumed by these groups to figure out what I can program and can't program into vehicles, or maybe this coolant line or this crossover tube is different on this 3.5 versus that 3.5. I don't get into it like that.
with 2 rear ends that you've seen on the Super Duties, do you suspect any issues with the front end? I can't say. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. We have to put them to use first. They don't have any miles on them, so I really can't say. I need help. I have a 91 Jeep Grand Wagoneer 360. It's been sitting 6 years. I pulled out last week to put it on the road. It's popped 2 freeze plugs. Think block is cracked? No, probably not. Probably just gonna have to clean it up real good. I know a lot of guys will take some freeze plugs and some orange silicone or something like that, and they'll coat them up real good and they'll stick them right back in there. Or they'll use some ultra gray, and they're fine. But you never know. I don't know your situation, but we've seen it happen with newer vehicles as well, where people keep driving them and they don't winterize them, or they have had too much water. We had a Grand Marquis, a Mercury Grand Marquis, come in about 8 months ago, and the guy had put it up in storage, and I think he did something with the fluids, and he had too much water in the coolant and not enough coolant, and when it froze, it popped the freeze plug on the back of the block. Popped both freeze plugs on the back of the block. And we had to pull the motor out of it and put new freeze plugs in. There's nothing wrong with it. It didn't crack the block or anything. Just put new freeze plugs in it. It was fine. It ran great. Watch out behind you. Huh? What is your opinion on Pep Boys mechanics? I don't know anything about Pep Boys mechanics. I've never stepped a foot in a Pep Boys in my life. Max Ball, thank you. I know you've been here for a while. Seen a lot of almost burnt bulb connectors, cheap wiring. 17 F-150, taillights filled with water, both of them. Yeah, that's because they're shit lights. They need to be replaced. There's actually a TSB out about the F-150 lights. Um, the fancy LED ones and also the regular ones. But the fancy LED ones, they get water down inside the lights, and the moisture and everything builds up in there, and it throws all kinds of circuit codes with the computers. It can throw parameter codes for security stuff. It does all kinds of wacky stuff. They need to be replaced, and they're expensive if it's the LED ones. Change the oil 3.5 thousand miles versus the recommended interval. Well, 3.5 thousand miles. I mean, it's not a bad number, but that's not a. I'm trying to figure out what that was in reference to. Anyway, I'll just move on. Those short outings help with stress and attitude during recovery. Sometimes I only get out once every few days for a short ride. When my helper can take me, it makes all the difference. Yeah, it does. Best all-around filter wrench. I haven't. I don't know. I bought some filter wrenches from Blue Point years ago, and it was a regular filter wrench, but they purposely left slag buildup, and like they took a welder and just matted it in areas that are like strips about that big, and just kept popping it and getting just enough burn for the spatter to stick, and left it all gritty inside in just strategic areas. And those oil filter wrenches from Blue Point would grab the shit out of these oil filters and just rip them right off. It was a Blue Point oil filter plier with looked like somebody was trying to weld inside them and just did a terrible job, but that's actually how they were designed, and they worked phenomenal. I tried flood mode on my 04 TC and didn't work. Well, you did something wrong, because flood mode does work on that car. I don't know. I'll have to do it. I'll show you. Are Wix filters all right? Sure they are. One of the best filters on the market. Opinion on overinflating tires? I don't have an opinion. I mean, some people like to run 100 psi in their tires. Some people like to run 20 psi in their tires, depending on if they're drag racing or if they're trying to float on top of water. I mean, I put what the manufacturer recommends in the tire and I just leave it at that. Slayer rules. Have a good night, man. Thank you for being here. 30 year. What's up? Unspoken. I just keep the gold stuff in my Panthers. I don't put anything else in there. Ian Fox, you probably have already said it, but in regards to just get in the vehicle and drive without waiting for warm up, is it different for diesels? Yes and no. I would let it go a little bit longer because you have twice, if not three times, the motor and oil capacity. So start it up and let it run. Let it run for a few minutes. You ain't gonna hurt nothing by letting it run for a few minutes, but you don't need to let it sit there and completely warm up. You don't even need to start the vehicle up and watch the temperature gauge come up. Start it up, let it run, let things get moving. After a few minutes of running, get in the thing and go. Just that simple. Bob said I did flood mode on my mom last weekend as a joke, and she thought my truck went out. Ha! Got her. Heard more air in the tires. More air in tires, easier shifting, and better gas mileage. I would think more air in the tires would create a taller tire, less road contact, less restriction, better fuel mileage, sure. In a minute, almost unmeasurable kind of way, I could see that. Would I do it? No. Better steering? No, I wouldn't think better steering either. You'd want more weight and more contact. More air, you're going to have more of a center contact and not a distributed weight. I wouldn't say better steering. I could see better fuel mileage because you're less resistance on the road, but almost unmeasurable kind of resistance. I wouldn't do that. I would put what the manufacturer recommends in the tire. Unless you're drag racing and you know what you're doing, then it's kind of up to you to figure out what you need to be doing. We must leave Earth now, the end is near. Oh God, it's a flat earther. Enzo, I don't know if that's a joke or not, so if the moderators are on here, see Enzo say something like that again, just remove him, please. We don't need that kind of stuff here. They said Y2K was a thing as well, and it wasn't, so. Bill Clinton said it. He didn't have sexual relations with that woman, and he clearly did. So, yeah. The end is not near. $10 a year to access the parameters. Did you find that in the shop manual? What did I find? What in the shop manual? All right, let me scroll to the bottom because I'm probably way behind. Thoughts on the Chevy 4.8 like the 07 or older ones? I've seen some of them 4.8 liters make a lot of power. I mean, I see the dude run his yellow Chevy step side short bed single cab truck through the auction, and that sucker had like a Pro Charger on it. It was a 4.8 liter. It was 600 horsepower, and he could have got so much more power out of that motor, and that thing was nasty fast. Nasty, nasty. And that guy, Richard, what's his name? Richard Henderson or Holder or whatever. I don't know what it was. I don't know what his name is. He does all the engine testing. You see the numbers that he makes with those LS motors? Ungodly numbers. What was the 4.8 liter? Like 11 or 1200 horsepower on his dyno? And they're not even built motors. And he's making a stupid amount of power with them. And he talks about boost, ring gap, and fuel quality, and let it eat, and timing. And if you got enough ring gap and you get the right timing, you can let it eat. It'll make all kinds of power. Where the hell is the PCV on a 2011 Focus? You're gonna have to remind me when I get back to work. It's the only place I could see it being. I haven't worked on a lot of them. Is it snapped into the valve cover somewhere. I'd have to get back to work and look it up. I'm not at work. I won't be able to get to work, until after next weekend. Mostly. 777. Hi, Rich. Love you, man. Love you too, dude. I love everybody. Yeah, Richard Holdner. That dude is smart, man. He's good. Have you seen the phasers go? Have you seen cam phasers go bad without a check engine light on my soul? Yeah, I had a what was that? Remember the EcoBoost I did where I was trying to show you guys? I was trying to show you the diag for that diesel sound that the EcoBoost F-150s like to make, and how you can actually command the phasers and change them to the different positions, and you can make that sound go away. And when you start to do that and that sound goes away, it's the first indication the phasers are going bad. That's no code set, but you can tell right away they're going bad. Can Ford over-the-air updates apply to PCM, TCM, or just basic functions? They're saying that they're going to be able. I mean, I've seen some new stuff that I want to cover with you guys whenever I get back, if I remember to do it. But man, there were so many new bulletins that was posted about things popping up with lights not working and little minor. I think it was more minor than anything. Issues where functions were not working in some of the new Ford vehicles, and they were talking about over-the-air programming to be able to fix this and that. I'm looking at everything that said it's going to be able to fix, and I was like, man, over-the-air programming is going to take over our damn job. We ain't going to have to do nothing. So I'm thinking over-the-air programming are going to be able. They're going to be able to do all kinds of stuff, but it's an agreement between you and the OTA. So it's going to tell you that there's an update available, and it wants to do it, and you're going to have to give it the approval, and then you're going to have to set a time where that vehicle is going to have to be turned on in order for it to do the OTA, and it's going to have to stay on while the OTA is going through, and it's a schedule that you set up with the OTA. Maybe they, I don't, my Ford dealer cannot find the PCV valve on a 2011 Focus. I mean, hell, I might not be able to find it when I go to look it up. I don't remember working on something like that, specifically looking for a PCV valve in a Focus. It's something I have to have been doing or have conscious effort of trying to find in order for me to just repeat where something exactly is. He says, I'm a Chevy guy. I have a 2011 Silverado with a 5.3 and a 6L80E trans, which is stock, and I have a cam 5.3 liter NA making 550 horsepower and 600. Weren't those only like 315 or 330 horse motors? Something like that? Isn't that all that motor made? So you mean to tell me from just a cam swap you were able to get another 200 horsepower and 200 foot-pound of torque out of that? I mean, that seems like a lot. And I'm not saying you're wrong, Bryce, but that seems like a lot from just a cam swap. And I'm not a Chevy guy, so I'm not talking crap about it by any means. But 200 horse and 200 foot-pounds of torque out of just a cam swap and everything being stock? I mean, that's good for you, but I've never heard of that from just a cam swap. I'm trying to, Don. CRV hybrid, RAV4 hybrid, which is the most reliable? Oh, hell, I don't know. We had a CRV come in and the customer was back 4 times for different types of Honda front end noises, and the thing only had 30,000 miles on it, and he was trying to sell the car back to the dealer because he was like, man, this thing is loud. There's not a lot of insulation going down the road. You get a lot of road noise. I'm hearing suspension creaking and popping. The guy hated the thing, so I don't know. No, you don't have phasers, Corey. When I hit 50,000 subscribers, I'm going to order the Vortec S trim for the 462 valve, the drop-on kit. But I'm thinking about not just doing the Vortec S trim. I'm thinking about actually putting the comp cam XE, what is it, the XE 260s or something like that, the CA or XE 260 CAs or 265 CAs. Yeah, Corey's got a really nice E-Series van that he takes very, very good care of, meticulous care of. He's actually very, very smart. I don't. His channel should be bigger than what it is. I think Corey, you would have a lot bigger following if we could get you a better phone, and you could learn to turn that phone sideways more and record in landscape mode instead of vertical. And I think that alone, just that little bit alone, would help out your channel so much, because I think a lot of people don't realize how smart you are when it comes to taking apart like generators and like electrical stuff, and how you come up with ways to convert and maneuver wires around and where the applications fit and stuff like that. Your channel should be a lot bigger than what it is, because you're very, very smart when it comes to that stuff. I wouldn't feel as comfortable with electrical stuff as Corey does. And I see him messing with big electrical wires and doing conversions and moving stuff around inside generator box. I don't know what it was that he was doing. I was like, nope, not me. I'll let him do it. Not me. I'm not that guy. Had a guy come with a 14 Focus or Fiesta with a bad headlight, pulled the connector, and it was completely melted at the connection, but wiring looked fine. I've seen that happen. It's not uncommon on those. We'll end up putting a new light in it and actually putting a new connector in. They have an updated connector that has a little bit thicker wires. If you're buying a newer F-150, which engine would you choose? A 5-liter is always going to be my first choice. Second would be the 2.7-liter EcoBoost, because we had the least amount of problems if you're looking for power. And then it would be the 3.5-liter, just because I don't know the longevity. Unless you're talking about brand new, the 3.5-liter EcoBoost, we've had none of them in 4 issues at all so far. So I would pick the 3.5 as of right now out of the 2021 line, the 2021, just because that thing is super fast and it's like monster torque. This thing is just ridiculous fast. Even up against all these new like Chevys and stuff, these higher horsepower Chevys, that 3.5 just eats them up. Just pack a lunch, because you're gonna get spanked by a 3.5 EcoBoost. That power boost is a nightmare when it comes to like truck power and stuff. It's a great truck, but we don't know longevity wise. So if you're talking about like that, any of the newer trucks, it would be a 5-liter or a 2.7-liter EcoBoost if I was looking for some kind of power. Now, when it comes to reliability, you can also find the later F-150s in the naturally aspirated line as well. You didn't have to get an F-150 with a V8 or a turbo. You could get the F-150 line with other motors as well. They were naturally aspirated, still about 300, I think 310 horsepower, somewhere around there. And they were still great trucks, great driving trucks, and never had any problems. Now those naturally aspirated motors, you get the best bang for your buck. Because we had a guy come in and he bought a 17 model. I think it was a 17 model F-150. I think it had the correct me if I'm wrong here, was it the 3.5 or the 3.7 or something in it, naturally aspirated? And it had 29,000 miles on it 4-wheel drive, long bed, crew cab. It was a commercial truck. It was meticulously taken care of, and he paid $17,000 out the door. Just gave him cash. Still driving the truck today. Absolutely loves the thing. Never has a lick of problem with it. Those naturally aspirated F-150s, they're really nice. Very, very reliable. Super low maintenance. Never had problems. Does coolant get into the transmission fluid sometimes, or am I the lucky one of the few? Guess I need to replace the radiator and install a separate trans cooler. Uh, there's some applications where it has actually happened. We've seen a few instances on the new Explorers, the new body style Explorer, where the actual trans cooler themselves have let loose and the coolant actually got into the transmission fluid. That's a huge job to get all that stuff out of there and then put a new cooler in and make sure everything's flushed out. I think we ended up having to put a trans in it because it damaged the trans. Um, I've seen it happen on I want to say the older Explorers. I don't know if it was the older Explorer or if it was an older Escape where a couple coolers let go and coolant got in the trans fluid and smoked the transmission. And that was a big project. So it's not unheard of for it to happen. It's very possible. To find a part in your vehicle, answer is yeah, you almost need a service manual or that for that. Yep. So, I mean, I recommend everybody try to find a service manual for your vehicle. I mean, you can Google it, you can go to eBay and stuff. You can find like manufacturer manuals and stuff online if people just do enough research. I don't even have to know what the names are a lot of times, and I'll go on eBay or I'll go on Google and I'll just sit long enough because I have the patience to do it, and I'll just comb through articles and stuff, and all of a sudden I'll find some guy in Ohio selling, a series of books from wiring diagrams to the engine manual on a Crown Vic or something like that, where I didn't have access to that before. Now all of a sudden for $50 I got all the information I need. It's just people don't take the time to want to research this stuff and look for it. Hey, you can't doubt our stories. It's the truth. 500 horse cam swap with the K and N air filter. Never doubt the stories of your subs. That's right. I didn't, I'm just talking, man. I'm just talking. My '03 Caravan, 3.3 smokes a Silverado. Man, that damn 3.3 moves though, Charles. I mean, they were no most of the minivans from any of the manufacturers. Man, I don't know what they did. I don't know if it was gearing or the way that the transmissions were set up or something like that. But most of those V6s and those minivans, those suckers would scoot. I think they were hoping that they could keep the soccer moms out of the dealership from complaining about stuff because they made them suckers move. You see that was that Dodge or Honda or something like that where they twin turboed it, and it was like I don't know if it's a Honda Odyssey or something. I don't know what it was. They twin turbo that minivan, and it's randomly on like different Ricer TikTok videos and stuff or YouTube videos. Oh yeah, I mean I don't. But where'd you come up with 3.5, Alberto? I mean, it just seems like an odd number. I'm just asking, is it a personal thing? Like you like 3.5? You like 3,500 miles? Because I tell people just stick with 3,000 miles. And if you're driving highway every single day, 5,000 max, I would never go what the manufacturer says to do with oil change interval wise on any of the cars. Unless you have some kind of service program, and then sometimes you're kind of forced into sticking with the program. But I've also seen people stand up for themselves and say, no, I'd like to get it done now. And they actually do listen to what the customer wants. Any thoughts on the new Chevy Trailblazer new 3-cylinder engine? First 3-cylinder since the Dio Metro? I don't know. We have the new 3-cylinder, the Dragon engine in the Escape, and it seems to be doing fine. We've only done one front cover on one of the 3-cylinder Dragon engines in the Escape, and it had 39,000 miles on it, and it's a fleet vehicle that drives across the United States, and they're based out of Illinois. So they were really ragging the hell out of this thing on the interstate and everywhere, and finally something around the front cover started leaking, and the tech had no experience working on this motor before at all. And as he was pulling it apart, we were looking at it and we're like, man, that's actually not that bad. And there's like a ton of room to do the front cover in these things. It is a pretty clean job overall. Once you get through your first one or two, there's nothing hard about it. Yeah, Garen, that's pretty crazy when you see the way that transmission fluid and the coolant looks, because it comes out exactly like Pepto Bismol. It's like you're ready to drink Pepto Bismol. And it's nasty. Yeah, I know, but a lot of those, uh, I don't know, a lot of those phones, Corey, that say, like I have one, it's like a $500 phone, and it says it's a 4K and it's got 103 megapixel and all this other stuff. And when I started shooting with it, I was like, dude, the audio's crap on this thing, the camera's crap on this thing, the specs are phenomenal on this phone, but it's just complete trash. And then I went out and picked this phone up, which is the S21 Ultra, and I paid $1,200 for this phone. Well, I paid $800 for the phone because they would not let me pay cash for this phone. They told me that because the phone was too new, they're not offering a cash buyout for the new phones. You had to pay $800 and then make payments on the last 400 because they wanted you to sign a contract through Best Buy. And I was like, this is bullshit. Like, why can't I just pay the $1,200 for the phone? I don't want to make payments on the phone. And they were like, well, you can set your own payments to where I was like, well, good, then put like an extra $50 on every single phone bill so it's paid off in like no time, because I don't want to pay you guys anything that I don't have to pay you. It's kind of crazy how they force you into doing stuff like that. And you're like, dude, I got cash here right now. I'm ready to buy this phone outright. Nope, would not let me do it. I like the sound of the 4.6 liter two valve over almost any motor. Any motor. I actually like the sound of the 5 liter, the Ford 5 liter, the HO roller motor. I like the sound of those with exhaust actually better than the 5.8 and the 5.0, better than any motor I think so far that I've heard. Other than like a big block from like an old. I really like the way the high, the small bore engines, man. The way they wrap out, the way they get just the RPM range, and how you get that nice crisp exhaust on it, and it's that aggressiveness. I like the older sound better than any of the newer sound. It's just the new stuff for me is not, it doesn't cut it. Like the old Chevy motors, the old Ford motors and stuff, where the guys set up the exhaust right. That is my weak spot for exhaust. I'm like, man, those guys that know how to set up those old motors with the exhaust systems, they just sound so much better than these newer ones. The newer ones sound too exotic for me. They just don't sound as American as like the older small bore and big bore motors. What's 10% above cost for a 1.5 short block out of warranty? Uh, you're probably looking at somewhere along the lines of, for a complete I don't know, dude. If you're gonna be doing block gaskets and everything, you're probably looking at close to 1,200 to 1,300 for everything. I think the block dealer price is about 600 to 700 bucks. So they're probably gonna charge you $700 or $800 for it, and then you're gonna have to buy all the gaskets, all the bolts and stuff if you want to do it right. You might be talking 1,200 or $1,300 in parts, buying doing it yourself. It could be more though. I know it's about 4,000, $4,500 job if it's out of warranty and you got to pay for it. I think it's somewhere between there, like 4,500 bucks ballpark, give or take. But if you're gonna do the job yourself and pay for all the parts, I think it's just ballpark, because all you're paying for is the block and the supporting stuff. I think you're probably somewhere 1,200 to 1,300 bucks in parts if they're fair to you. Which right now it's hard to get parts, so you might be paying more than that. I went to a local Ford dealer on Tuesday and got quoted $569 to flush out the tranny, brakes, and coolant. Do you think that's right? Yeah, I do, because you're talking labor and fluid. Yeah, they're not doing you wrong there. It's actually a decent price. $569 to flush out the tranny, the brakes, the coolant. Yeah, because you're paying for fluids, you're paying for transmission fluid, you're paying for brake fluid, and you're paying for coolant. Plus, you have to consider that's 3.5 to 5 hours of that guy's time. So you're probably actually getting a deal, depending on how fast that technician is doing it. Yeah, that's pretty much a deal. I would say that that's not a bad price at all. They actually are treating you very well with that price. What's my thoughts on buying the current Ford Explorer? The passenger ones we haven't had too many problems with. I mean, there's some annoyances with certain sounds and stuff like that that people aren't going to like, but the functionality of them overall, I haven't had a lot of issues with. Only the cop cars I've had issues with, not the passenger cars. The passenger cars, you get a fuel slosh thump under the seat. Ford says that's normal because the baffles in the fuel tank aren't built all the way to the top. So once the fuel drops below 3/4, you feel that fuel sloshing over the baffles, and it makes like a thumping feel underneath the driver's seat, kind of like a child's kicking the back of your seat. There's actually a service message out for it saying that that's normal. That's the design of the Aviator and Explorer fuel tanks, and that's basically a design flaw, and they're not going to fix it, so you're going to have to deal with it. And then there's the creaking, tapping sound from all four wheels sometimes, based on uh, how the CV axle space going into the hub assemblies. It's not going to hurt anything, but it cracks and it creaks and it pops, almost like the CV axle nut never made it tight enough from the factory. Um, and that happens with a lot of the Explorers. But other than that, we've had no real issues with them at our dealership so far. Yeah, so it's the 3.7. It's a great motor, and the F-150, plenty powerful. Hell, they put the 3.7 with no turbo in the Transit, and guys worked the living hell out of those things. That 3.7 liter motor is no joke, man. That's a great motor. Especially, I thought about for a long time trying to find a Lincoln MKS, like a 2010 model, where it went to that more sleek, rounded body style. It was like more sexy looking, and they put the damn 3.7 liter in that. And Rob at work, he found one. It only had like 27,000 miles on it, and they only wanted like 16 grand for it. And it was a private sale. A friend of him, or he knew a guy that knew a guy, and the dealer bought it at auction dirt cheap. And he was like, I'll let it go for like 17, 14, somewhere in there. I think he got it on the 14 side. And it has low miles, and that damn thing is sexy. It's a ton of power, all-wheel drive. Love that car, man. And it was a weird variation where they just started with the newer body style Lincoln, where they started bringing them in, and he got one of the first models with the bigger motor, and it's just the car's absolutely sexy. Just trying to get through the comments. P1121 throttle position sensor inconsistent with mass airflow. 4.6 sensor. That's good. I would have to look at it, Billy. I ain't going to be very much with specifics right now unless you want me to point you in the right direction. Throttle position sensor inconsistent with mass airflow. 4.6 sensors, test good. That don't work. I can't lean that far forward. It hurts. How big an air leak? I mean, they're known for air leaks with those, so, I mean, who knows? Okay, that ain't gonna work. We may have to end this soon because I'm starting to get uncomfortable sitting here. The bottom of my stomach where they put the 2 holes in is starting to actually get kind of sore. I have a 2003 Honda CR-V with about 127,000 miles, and I'm not sure when or if it has ever been had the automatic tranny changed. Too late, or should I still do it? When we got it, it had 84K. I mean, you could. What I tell people a lot of times is first you're going to have to assess the condition of the fluid. Have somebody look at it. Have somebody, get a feel for whether or not I wouldn't do a full flush. I might do like a basic service, and then you'd be fine. Excuse me. They pump your belly up with a bunch of air when they do the surgery, and then when they take all the instruments and stuff out, you still got a lot of air trapped in your body, and they're like, you shit the stuff out, you burp it out. You never know when it's just gonna find a way out of your body. I mean, between Alberto again, between 3 and 5,000 full synthetic is perfectly fine. There's no 3.5 or 4K rule set in stone. It's just somebody's preference that they passed on to you. But even the same with me, a 3,000 mile oil change has always been a pretty good interval. It's a standard for the industry. So instead of being complicated and saying 3,500, just say 3,000. And instead of saying, 3,000 or 4K or something, just tell them 3,000 to 5,000 miles. That's what I would do. It's simple. The air leak thing, I don't know. I can't. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm starting to tune out with answering questions, Billy Sandals. So we've been on here for an hour and 42 minutes, and I'm starting to get my own attention span is starting to fail. So I'm having a hard time keeping up with everything that I'm actually talking about and trying to keep track of everything. I have a 2003 Honda, so I already answered that. And I even think of that. I'm looking at getting a newer F-150. What are your thoughts on the 3.5 versus the 5.0? A lot of people, they're not too happy about them switching the 5.0 to a belt-driven oil pump. So a lot of people are saying they don't want to do that. 3.5 has been pretty reliable so far, but I can't give you feedback on that too much because they're too brand new. So I can't actually tell you what I would suggest because they're just too new. Unless you're talking about previous to 21, then I would suggest a 5-liter before anything. Garen said, installed the extra ground on my 2005 Grand Marquis today. Awesome, man. Yeah, it helped me a lot. Since I put that ground on there, no excessive voltage in the coolant at all when I'm looking for electrolysis or anything like that. I'm not getting anything abnormal. It actually cut down on what little bit was there before, millivolt-wise. And then my intake crossover runner, nothing. No issues there at all. It helps mitigate getting that green fuzzy stuff. It actually helps overall in the cooling system to protect those O-rings and the seals and stuff from the tube that goes from the center of the valley to the back. It seems to cut down on a lot of the wear inside the cooling system by just adding that extra ground wire to the Panther platform cars. I'm stuck in my dealer's parts department. I'm waiting on a new hire so I can move to a lube tech. Just finished up 2 years of. I have 4 ASC student certs. Very nice. Moving on up, brother. Move it on up. Make that money. Jeff says I'd go with a 3.5. Just eventually know you'll need phasers. See, I can't say that. The reason I can't say that is because is the fascination power or is the fascination having a good, reliable truck? If it was power, then sure, go with a 3.5. But there's 10 times more to maintenance. There's 10 times more that'll go wrong with it. There's 10 times more frustration that goes along with it. When you're getting a 5-liter Coyote motor, it's one of the most respected motors in the industry. With its infinite potential for modifications and things that could be done with that motor. I don't know. I mean, it's so user friendly compared to the 3.5. The 5-liter Coyote, you can do so much to it. The user themselves can have more fun with a 5-liter, seeing the little modifications and adding things to it, than a 3.5-liter that you're going to need computers for, and the parts are going to be more expensive. And I'd rather see somebody have fun with a tried and true 5-liter Coyote and get the enjoyment out of seeing everything progress and actually sounding like a truck than some raspy 3.5-liter that I'm never going to 100% completely appreciate. Have you seen a lot of 18 to 20 5-liters with front crank main seals leak? No. I've never even done one. Never had one come in the shop leaking. Oh yeah, it would. I definitely agree, Otto. The 318 would sound awesome with the right exhaust. And that's what I'm going to do is Mopar Performance out of Washington, Illinois. I think it's not Mopar Performance. What are they called? Washington, Illinois has like the hub Mopar Performance place. And they even have like cam kits for that truck. They have full exhaust kits for that truck that I didn't even know was available for that truck. And literally it's all plug and play stuff. And I thought for sure with a throttle body injected type unit, no, not throttle body injected. Um, the hell is that? What do they call that? Because it's not carbureted. It's got the throttle body type upper setup, but it's not. It doesn't have injectors in it, but it's set up the same kind of way with sensors in the side of it and everything else. I forget what the hell they call it. I don't know what Dodge calls that setup. It's not important. They have the complete update kit for that truck with exhaust, cams, and I'm like, in a freaking 2001 Dodge Ram, you can do all this stuff to it without even tuning the computer or anything. It says it's all plug and play. You can do the camshafts. You can do the exhaust. They have like, I don't know if it's like a racing type manifold kit and stuff for it. I mean, they have so much stuff available for that truck through that one company, but they're having problems keeping parts and stuff in because of COVID and everything right now. So there's every time I go to their site and I start clicking on stuff to order to see what I can do with the Dodge, build something, like put a build sheet together to figure out what it's going to cost. A lot of the stuff says not in stock, not in stock, not in stock, not in stock. They just don't have anything ever. You know what? Ford Tech Life, you say try living there, but when I went to California, I flew in back when I was into powerlifting real big. Mark Bell had commented on one of my videos one day, and if y'all don't know who Smelly Belly is, Mark Bell is one of the uh, Bigger, Faster, Stronger. There's that documentary out on YouTube. It's called Bigger, Faster, Stronger. And it's about his life, basically, his brother's life, and steroid use and all this other stuff. And Mark Bell has that, he's got his own brand of lifting a tire and everything else. And I was dating a girl that really cared a lot for me. And she knew that I always looked up to those guys, those old school power lifters. It was all about blood, sweat, and tears. It was, the old Ronnie Coleman, lightweight, lightweight. Um, those guys, the guys that would just, it didn't matter what it was. It didn't matter what kind of juice you were on, that you were getting it done. It didn't matter if you were in the gym for 6 hours a day, you had to get it done. Old school guys. She actually called him up and said, "Hey, look, my boyfriend's going to be in Sacramento, and I was wondering if maybe he can come out and work out at your gym and stuff while you were there." And Mark was like, You know, does he have a story? Does he have something to go off of? Maybe we can make this into like a, I don't know if he was going to make it into like a YouTube segment, like taking care of a vet. This vet, this wounded vet that's trying to get his life back together, get his health back together and stuff like that. You know, maybe I could be a part of his life and offer him a safe place to come and work out and stuff while he's here, and get him in the right accommodation while he's here in California. So I always looked up to Mark, and Mark accepted. He said, "Yeah, have him fly in, have him meet with my manager and stuff like that. He's more than welcome to work out at my gym for free while he's here. Just come check in with me. Let's do a face to face." And things fell through where I couldn't actually make it to Mark's gym, Super Training Gym. And but when I was in California, the Sacramento area, I felt more hospitality. Or, I mean, it was amazing. The people were talking about old classic cars, and they were like 2A supporters and stuff like that. And I started thinking to myself, California is not that much of a liberal state like people think they are. There's certain parts, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing Republicans or liberals or anything right now. I'm just speaking freely right now. Uh, California is actually not that much of a liberal state in the area where I was at. People offered me their home. We were talking about guns and ammo and everything else and old classic cars. Guys were taking me out to their garage and stuff like that. We were having dinner and drinks and stuff. People weren't treating me any different than anybody else. And I was like, man, this is not what I expected based on what everybody else was talking trash about California. When I actually went out to California, I didn't experience that. I didn't experience that persona that people had built up in my mind about California. It was a pretty well diverse, mixed group of people, and it shocked me because I went from up in Tahoe. I went from Tahoe all the way down to. I didn't quite make it down to Los Angeles. I made it all the way out to the coast. I went up to Tahoe. I came back down to Sacramento, and then I finished the rest of my time out in Sacramento. And I never made it down south. And I guess some people said, well, the majority of what you're going to see in that in reference to that is more south than north, because the people more north are kind of mixed. They're more like libertarian. You see a little bit more like Republican type mindset and stuff up here. And I was like, it doesn't matter to me, man. My whole atmosphere, the whole journey and stuff of being there for the couple weeks that I was there was just absolutely amazing. The California people welcomed me into their homes. They, took me out to dinner. We went shooting and we talked old classic cars and stuff. And see, in my mind, people had fed me a lot of bad stuff about California and said how, oh, they're trying to get rid of the emission stuff, or they're trying to put all this emission stuff on people. They're trying to get rid of all the old classic cars, and they're trying to do this and they're. And then I go there and I'm expecting all this, and I'm literally have this built up in my mind that I'm going to go to California. There's going to be all these people that are, and I get there, and it's like one of the most amazing experiences that I've ever had that I'll remember for the rest of my life. And it was phenomenal. It was just, I felt welcomed. The only thing that I did see in certain areas of California, it seemed like they really didn't care about their highways and stuff. The homeless people, how dirty it was. Um, but other than that, it was just, I had a great experience in California. Get your voicemail. I don't know if I got, I don't think so. I don't know. I'll have to look. Otto says that they called it SMPI. Okay, I see what you're talking about now. Yeah, I didn't know what it was called. I've had to do a couple intake manifold reseals on them. I'm sure you know about those, where you got to pull the intake manifold and do the plenum because they start consuming oil. I've got the new updated kit from Mopar Performance, where they give you that aluminum plate with the new updated gasket and everything. So I've got all that in. I just got to make time to go do it. It's fixed up for now. Now we just got to let it heal. I'm married and not here trying to meet anyone. Plus, I'm a huge fan of Ford Boss. I appreciate that, Robert. Man, if anybody's hitting on you here, you tell them to hit on me. Give me the attention. Ford Boss. I want them to hit on me. Guys and girls, I'll take it. I'll take the attention. Any attention, right? Boys, meet me in my home. Come up and see me sometime, big boy. Thanks, Bryce. Appreciate it. Oh my God, California is probably one of the most beautiful places. In reference to Fox, California was probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. The most breathtaking thing I ever seen, like in out in the elements, is being on top of Tahoe. Let me paint the picture for you. It's it's like February. It's the end of February. There's like 10 feet of snow on the ground. It snowed like 6, 7 inches overnight, but then the next day it got right back up to 65, 70 degrees. So the snow that was on the ground, the big giant blowers that they have that go down the street and blow all the snow over into these big, huge piles, like 10 feet of snow on the ground. And it got just warm enough by noon to where it was like 65, 70, and it was gorgeous out. And I'm at the top of Tahoe, and I'm looking down at what is that, Emerald Lake, and it's so turquoise green. And I'm looking, I can hear the waterfalls, or like the little waterfalls, the little water has created little passageways and stuff in the snow on the side of the mountains and stuff. And it's just dripping off, and then it starts to drain off, and then it starts to pick up as the morning gets warmer and warmer, and then you actually got like a waterfall in certain areas. You hear the water going, and then the birds are out, and then you're at the top of this mountain in Tahoe, and you're looking down in Emerald Bay, and you're like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. This emerald colored lake with an island out in the middle of it, and you're standing one of the most beautiful places you've ever seen or been in your life. It's so surreal. You just stand there, and it's like, thanks be to God for this. I mean, it's my God. I don't think I'd ever experience this anywhere else in my life. And just amazing. And the clean, fresh air at the top of this Lake Tahoe is just, it was so surreal. And then making it down to San Francisco so I could see the sea lions on the pier. So they had all the big giant Goliath sea lions and stuff out there, and they're all fighting with each other and talking and putting on a show, a natural show. They're natural to that area. It was uh, it was an experience for me for sure. Toyota makes the best vehicles. You a Scotty Kilmer troll? Toyota makes the best vehicles. Yeah. Okay. I have 4 holes that they had to go in with robot arms and put the mesh in for my belly button hernia. But the doctor said because of this is like the least invasive surgery, and it's the fastest recovery. By your third day, you'll start feeling like you want to move around, but still just take it easy. I want you to move around. I want you to try to do things, but at the same time, be conscious of what you're doing because you could hurt yourself. But the more you move and the more you make yourself work and kind of come back to your normal self, you're actually going to heal faster. You need the blood moving. And they said the old way to do it would be to just lay around and stuff, and then recovery would take so much faster. But they found that people were stronger when they started to move 2.5, 3 days in and actually start to do light things around the house. And then by their 7th to 10th day, they're completely fine and almost healed from it. Now, you still got to be careful after that. But the reason I seem so healthy is because I'm hurting right now while I'm sitting here talking to you guys. My stomach is sore. It hurts to sit here in the position that I'm in. I'd rather go sit down in the recliner and relax, which I'm going to do that. But I wanted to hang out with you guys tonight. Um, Adam Owens finally caught a live chat. What's up, Ford Boss? Love your videos. Hope you're doing good. I'm doing better, man. I had the procedure done, the surgery's done for my hernia, and everything seems to be coming together pretty well. So it is what it is. Lived there everywhere, 30 years, so true. Retired in Florida, pure fun, Preston. I love Florida. I flew into 2008 when they gave me my vacation from Iraq. Mind you, we we had just got done with a lot of missions where we were taking over certain areas, and we were putting big barriers and stuff up in that we regained control of. In 2008, it was my turn to take my mid-tour leave, is what they called it, and I flew into Daytona, Florida, and or I chose to go to Daytona, Florida, instead of home. I just wanted to be away from everybody and kind of by myself for 18 days, and I went to Daytona, Florida, right on A1A. I got a suite at one of the nicest hotels I could find, right on the ocean. And the lady, whenever I checked in, she said, "Oh, you're an army guy. I'm all dressed up and cleaned up and stuff like that." And she said, "My boyfriend is deployed right now. He's a Marine. Let me try to find a nice room for you." So she found this huge, extravagant, like fully furnished room and everything else. And she said, "Don't worry about paying for anything in the room. I'll take care of all that for you. Instead of it being $250 a night, I'll cut you a deal and I'll just make it $100 a night, and you enjoy yourself while you're here. Thank you for everything that you do." And she set me up in a master suite, jacuzzi and all this other stuff. And I was there for 18 days on A1A, and got to experience the gas hike when it first went up to $5 and something a gallon in Florida. Got to experience the hurricane when it was coming in and all the water was moving up into the streets. Um, I knocked out a homeless man while I was there. Uh, the guy was he kept homeless people in Florida become very comfortable just walking up to people. And I'm a vet at the time. In my prime, jacked, just stupid healthy with everything. And I smoked. I loved to smoke. I loved menthol cigarettes. And even with me smoking, I was still super healthy. There was never a reason for me to stop because I was like run like the wind, bull strength kind of deal. And this guy come up and asked me for a cigarette. And I give him a cigarette, and he said, "Can I have another one?" I give him another one. Then he comes back about 10 minutes later, and we're sitting around my car. I bought a car when I was in. That was the whole reason why I went to Daytona, is because there was a man that died there. It's a story I told previously. If you look at my old Camaro that I had, and I flew in to pick up that Camaro, and he was actually a professional race car driver, and that was his car that he drove from his home to Daytona Raceway every day. And it was a IROC Z Camaro that had been all converted to Dakota Digital Dash, Ford's 355 setup, Edelbrock 650 carburetor, nothing too crazy. It was just a really nice, really cool car. Turbo 400 built, just a really nice car. We're all standing around my car just enjoying ourselves. It was nice, nice day. And then he comes back again and he says, "Could you have a cigarette and some money?" And I was like, "Man, I gave you cigarettes already and I gave you money. Walk away." And the guy wouldn't walk away. And I said, "Brother, I'm telling you right now, walk away. I'm going to call the cops." And he felt more comfortable to walk up to me and get in my face. And I said, "This ain't going to work. I'm going to walk away." So me and my buddy, we walk over to the sandwich shop, and I grab a sandwich. I grabbed him a sandwich. I bring him out a sandwich, and I give it to him. And I said, "Here, man, could you just leave us alone? I don't want no problems right now. I'm here on leave from Iraq. I don't want no problems with you." And he's a big, tall, homeless guy. He looked like he's pretty fit too, but you can tell something was wrong with him. Like he just went in his right mind. And I called the cops, and he wouldn't leave us alone. And he was with a female that was with him, and he put his hands on her. He started choking her, and out of nowhere, I blasted the dude right in the side of the face. I just laid him, just come right across the front of my car, and just laid him straight out into the parking lot, and just knocked him out. Just laid him there. And then the lady's crying and stuff. She's got a little blood coming out of her nose. The cops get there, and I showed the cops what had happened, and I told them everything. I said I give this guy plenty of chances to walk away, and then he put his hands on the homeless woman that's with him, so I just laid his ass out. Florida's a crazy place, man. It's a good place now. Now that all the MTV video shooting and stuff is all out of there, and it's a lot of retired people moved to Florida. A lot of people are there that are really building up Florida and the communities and stuff in general. It's very clean now. No craziness going on anymore. It's very, very nice. And I always thought to myself, if I ever moved anywhere, I'd probably move to like Tennessee, Texas, Florida, or Wisconsin. Those are like my choices. And I'd love to move to Florida or Tennessee, probably the most right now. Maybe Texas. Texas is up there on the list, but it's kind of hard. Texas gets too damn hot for me. Florida's kind of humid, but I really love Florida, and Tennessee's like the perfect spot out of all of them. So I don't know. Anyway, Florida was good to me as well. Very, very good experiences, very good food, tasteful nightclubs, nice dancing and stuff, nice restaurants and stuff in Florida. I loved Florida. It was one of my most memorable times in my life in Florida. Just going back through, I have a question looking at a 2019 Mustang GT. I didn't drive it or get it all the way up to temp, but I did start it and give it slight throttle on park. It made a rattle on decel. Any ideas? They make noises, man. Those Mustangs they're noisy. Without me exactly telling you what it was, it could be a VCT solenoid starting to hang up on decel. They'll do that where you go to rack them out. The solenoid will open and it's fine. But then on decel, when you come off of it and it goes to close, it'll make a little fluttering rattle sound. And it's just simple. It's as simple as like a $30 solenoid change. Some of them are that easy. Now, have I experienced it on a Mustang yet? No, but on an F-150 with a 5 liter, yes. Do you think Ford will make cars available again? I don't know, Max. It's kind of hard for me to say that because all the manufacturers are going to more like SUV truck type vehicles. Oh, Fox, you need to go to Tahoe when there's snow on the ground. It's like breathtaking. When you see Tahoe with snow on the ground and it's like feet and feet and feet of snow, snow sometimes so high that you can't see the top of where you can be driving down the road and all you do is see snow built up down the road. You can't even see anything. You can see the tops of the mountains, but that's it. It is just gorgeous. It's actually gorgeous, man. Come to Vegas, we'll show you slot machines and buffets. Huh? I could do the buffets and I could do the slot machines. That'd be nice, but I'm trying to slim down, not slim up. Yeah, Daytona Beach is where I was at. Yeah, I went over the Golden Gate Bridge too. No, was that the Golden Gate Bridge? Yeah, it was the Golden Gate Bridge. So how long did he say for a return to sex? Oh, baby, I can get that thing going now. She pulled on my ear a little bit like this. That sucker will just boop. I'm ready to go. That surgery ain't gonna stop me, but I'm probably gonna have to wait about 10 days before I can do any kind of funny business for sure, or close to it. But she just give it a little tug, just like that. It'll start growing. She knows when to stop. Is it okay? Is it the OBD Link EX for $50 on Amazon? Yeah, it's like right at 50 bucks. That's what it is. But somebody told me they actually have a wireless one as well, to where like you can take the laptop out of the car and set it down on the stand, and you can have the wireless dongle inside the car. So there's supposed to be like a OBD Link EX that is wireless also. I don't know if it's called EX or ES for the wireless one. EX is the one that I have. It's corded. Well, I think uh, I think that's it, guys. Unless y'all have anything else you want to talk about. It is Dented Robot. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you. Preston, I'm gonna make you. Preston's gonna be a channel moderator. Robert Preston, you are now a channel moderator. You have, I dub thee channel moderator Robert Preston. Yeah, you can let this video load and then come back and I'm gonna make some of you. I'm gonna make more of you guys moderators as well as time passes. I just I need to get a feel for some people. You know, like some people give me a weird vibe sometimes. Some people seem like they're really really good and then they turn on me. So I have a hard time trusting people sometimes just because I don't know who they are. And I've had people support me for months and months and months and really really want to be here, but then all of a sudden out of nowhere start saying all kinds of negative stuff to me, act like they don't really even care at all. So I'm really weird about who I, who I'm vibing with. So let the video load, and then once the video loads, then I will. Then I want you to put your email, or actually, I'll put my email in there, and then you can. Then you can deal with sending me an email with any of your questions. We'll do this again too. Trust me, guys. Sorry out here. I was just on my Friday night and was vibing myself. Well, yeah, it's weird, man. You literally have users in the world. They just want to see what they can get out of somebody, regardless if it's emotions. Because I'm an emotional person. I care about people. That's my problem. My problem is I care about everybody that I have to interact with, and I want the best for them. And when they do me wrong, it lets me down. And when it lets me down, I feel like I go on the defense. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. You're gonna have different personalities on social media. People tell me all the time, "Don't let the haters get to you. Don't let the haters get to you." It's not that simple. When you become a content creator and people start calling up your establishment, finding your phone number, trying to put your personal information out, it's not that easy to just turn a blind eye to everything. Sometimes I have to head things up head on and make an example of it. Um, and people tell me all the time that they don't agree with me. That's fine. If you're civil with me and you don't agree with me and you can support what you're saying and you tell me that I'm wrong, then let's have it out. Tell me that I'm wrong. But if, like the gentleman earlier said, where uh, rod piston slap or something like that, and the vehicle has to heat up to operating temperature before you drive. Well, he didn't quite say before you drive the vehicle, but that's the gist of what I got from his message. None of what he said was even. He just kept saying, "I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. You just can't go to your vehicle and start it up and leave. I'm wrong. I'm wrong." Well, support that. Support what you're saying right now because I can support what I'm saying. I do this professionally. Support what you're saying. Let's have this conversation. I'm okay with that. But if you're going to be irrational and you're just going to tell me I'm wrong and you're not going to support what you're saying, then we're not going to have this conversation. Then you're going to be out of the conversation. You're going to lose, unfortunately. That's just how it's going to work. And I supported what I had to say, but he couldn't, and unfortunately, it is what it is. You know, it's not that easy to just not say something or not react. You have different people with different personalities, and they handle things differently. So I understand that I have a channel full of mom and dads, but I'm still going to do what I feel is right. Right. You chose to be in the public eye. You're absolutely right. But I'm also going to deal with what I have to deal with the way I have to deal with it in the public eye. And nobody has a say so in that, only me. I'm the one that gets to say how I react to things. I'm the one that gets to choose what information I put out and how I address a situation. Not you, WB, not anybody else. And that's just how it works. Yeah, Joe, it's You know, sometimes I want to turn away and don't deal with it because people can be so nasty on here. But then at the same time, you know, it's to go back to WB's comment about, I'm just going to call him W. I don't want to say WB. Um, to his comment about you chose to be a social media person. Um, I chose to be that person, but that doesn't mean I chose for people to ruin my life or try to ruin my life. That doesn't mean I chose people to try to get me fired from my job or try to attack me in some kind of personal way or threaten me or something like that. I didn't choose that. I chose to be some kind of influence in somebody's life. I didn't choose to get attacked. That's as bad as saying a vet that was injured at war chose to join the military. It's his fault. Such a disingenuous, insensitive thing to say. It's like you don't have empathy for somebody else or you don't understand what they're going through when you make those kind of comments. We didn't choose to get hurt. We didn't choose to go to war. We didn't choose to put our life out there. We chose to serve our country and knew that that would happen, but did we want it to happen? No, we didn't. I chose to be on social media to try to make somebody else's life better, build a life for myself, and also at the same time educate people. Did I choose to get attacked in the process? No, I didn't. Do I have the right to react the way I want to react when I deal with those types of people? Absolutely. I carry a, I'm not even going to say the personal stuff beyond what I just said. So just remember when you say somebody chose something, they may have chose to move in this direction, but they don't choose to get attacked from the people while they're in that direction. Sometimes we react differently while we're dealing with it. If you've never been in the position of being a content creator as long as I have, because this is not my first channel, um, it's not as simple as we keep our lives private. That might be what you do, but not every vet has to model the WB model. It's different. Everybody's different. It's not the same. I welcome people to not talk bad to me and just show up and do the bad that they say that they would do, or I would rather see somebody do that than talk about it and threaten. That's what I want somebody to actually do what they say they're going to do or act on what they say they're going to act instead of just trying to call and email my employer and do this and do that. Why? Just get the job done. Do whatever you feel like you need to do. I mean, that's the way I see it in life. If you're not going to fulfill that urge to do whatever it is, then just leave people alone. It's simple. I'm the type of person, I'm not going to come after you. I don't want to talk bad about you. I don't want to come find you. I don't want to do anything. I want to live my life. I don't care about, like people ask me all the time, did you go over to this guy's channel? He said something bad about you. No, I don't really care what that guy said about me. You know, I did you see what this person said or that person did, or did you see this creator and how they explained that? I didn't, but I really don't care. I mean, I'm not trying to go look for the problem. The problems are coming to me. Okay, I'm a combat disabled vet at 80%. Our percent doesn't dictate whether or not we're more vet or less vet. Where are we going with this, WB? Is this going to be one of those situations where you're now trying to start a problem by saying you asked for this, and now we're going to try to compare our numbers to each other, and we're going to try to play who's bigger than the next? Thanks, Schmitty. I appreciate that. What's the difference between the check engine light and the orange wrench light? It's the same thing. But the orange wrench light could also mean maintenance. Then I'm not, let's move on from here, WB. I mean, I think you probably said that you said the ultimate thing to me that we don't want to hear as veterans. You should know before anybody, the last thing that we want to hear is you signed up for it, you get to deal with it. Every vet should know that that's gut-wrenching words when you hear that. That is a gut-wrenching response to somebody, and you just fed me that. You said you signed up for it and you get to deal with it. I mean, you kind of opened the can of worms here. let's just move on from this. We don't. I mean, you've been good to me so far. I'm not sure exactly what's going on now. So the difference between the check engine light and the wrench light is a wrench light could be it could be anything from transmission issue to fluid level low. It could be anything. Check engine light could mean the same thing. Non-combat at 70%. Didn't expect to be involved in a training accident in Virginia in 2012. I mean, we don't expect any of it. I didn't expect to get thrown from a truck and my ACL, my MCL ripped out and both my knees destroyed. I didn't expect to get a Mobac dysentery when I was in Iraq and almost killed me. I didn't expect any of that, but it happened. I have to live with it. I'm the one that gets to choose to tell myself, well, bud, you signed up for it. You got the t-shirt and now you got to deal with it. I'm the one that has to tell myself that, not somebody else. Even though I'm still okay with it, it shouldn't come from somebody else. That's all I'm saying. "13 Foxtrot. I was a fister, but I ran with the infantry. So even though I had an artillery MOS, I was in a infantry unit. I didn't. It's not an artillery unit. I was in an infantry unit, and I did an infantry job basically. I didn't get to do artillery stuff other than control fire assets, which wasn't very much of it because when you're in such close quarters combat, you have to mitigate collateral damage. You don't get to just do and call in for, any kind of fire that you want. What do y'all want to talk about before we get off here? Because I'm ready to close it down. Because I'm sure some of you guys don't want to keep getting into these little spit spats back and forth that come up. Let's not talk about that because it'll get the video demonetized. Let's not talk about the specifics of Ford Ranger 2019 surging. I don't know. I haven't dealt with it yet. Not on a new Ranger. You're welcome, Sean. And I want to thank all of you guys too that are here. A lot of you are vets, and I thank you too. I mean, I love you all just like you're my brothers because you are. But it's rough, how you deal with things. Yeah, we all be 11 Bravos. Could be bad gas. You're right. I have no idea, Albert. I don't get into all the modification stuff like other people do. I support you too, WB. I just wanted to, we can talk about it anytime. We can talk about it live. We can talk about it off. I talk to you guys live on here all the time, and I think that's what people like about this channel is that it's not a beauty contest or whatever. We talk to each other while we're here. Right now, we just have it out. It's just how it is. I had some Israeli guys actually train with us. We had some Israeli guys. We had some Turkish guys. The Turkish army was something else, man. Those guys. If you ever seen like Mr. Bean or what was the black and white comedian back in the day where they used to do a comedian where they wouldn't talk, they would actually just do stuff. Or Charlie Chaplin. You look like a Mr. Bean, Charlie Chaplin cross, and the Turkish soldiers were the most ate up soldiers that we ever trained with. Oh my God! I mean, they actually. Okay, I can't get into certain stories because I don't know what's gonna take the channel down, or say certain things on here or whatever. But anyway, the Turkish soldiers were a little ate up. Those guys were all about eating good meals and drinking and having a good time. They weren't about training, that's for sure. Schmitty, I've been invited to the colleges I go speak at sometimes every once in a while too. I'm actually going to go next week and talk at UTI, so people can get a feel for me being, a graduate from UTI years ago and kind of where I am from then until today. They let me go in and they let me talk to the students and stuff, and people have asked me to consider being an instructor at one of the colleges, and I like what I do. I don't think the pay is going to be close to what I'm making now as an instructor at the college, but I really do like teaching people. So I'm actually considering that maybe down the road, that's what I will end up doing, is maybe going and being an instructor for Ford through their ITEP program or something. How many HRS service, how many hour service is a 3.5 liter Duratec water pump? Oh, it all depends on how they're going to do the job. I think all data calls for about 11 hours to do that job. The last one I did, I think it was like a 10 to 11 hour job is what ballpark was, I think. So I think that's what you should expect, ballpark. Throttle 40%, then truck loses power and then regains it. Now, Mark, is that have you checked to make sure that it's not in your sweep? Is it something missing in your throttle position to figure out where you are? Does it have like an APP1, APP2, and they're not correlating properly, and there's something messed up inside, like the accelerator pedal position sensor or something to that extent? Could that be it? Or is it something outside of that and that doesn't feel right? How long should a turbocharger last on an F-150? Well, we've got a 2012 with 285,000 miles with still the original turbochargers on it. We have a 2011 with 175,000 miles, still has the original turbochargers on it. A lot of them by 100,000 miles have to be replaced because they're leaking, things of that nature. So I'd say 100,000 miles is a good ballpark because they start leaking. Turbo seals will start going out. You'll start seeing a lot of accumulation and stuff around the turbo connection, like the tube and stuff. I appreciate that, Sean. I'm all right, Greg. It's a little sore, and I think from sitting here in the same spot, my tummy's it's acting up a little bit over the last 20 minutes, and it's starting to make me just a little bit nauseous. So I'm trying to tie up with whatever we need to talk about on here, and then I'm going to go to bed. Well, I appreciate that, Cookies. I'm just going to call you Cookies from now on because you got a long ass name, man. How many miles till my 543 valve? Good till got 180 on it now. Should I get rid of it? 180 is a lot, and normally they don't make it that long without having issues. Um, you might be lucky. Don't beat on it. Keep driving it. Keep it maintenance. You might be all right. Some guy messaged me the other day with over 300,000 miles on his 543 valve, no problems. Manifold, I think he had to replace the manifold, and I think alternator, and that was it. It just all depends, man. Luck of the draw. Yeah, hallucinated. Those turbos right at about 100,000, they can start acting up. So that's why. All right, guys, I'm gonna get off of here. Thanks for sitting with me for 2.5 hours. This is a great stream, probably one of the best streams that I've had in a long time. I appreciate you guys as always. The super chats were great. I mean, I didn't expect that. Again, you guys don't have to do that. Um, I'm I'm doing okay for myself, but it's always appreciated because I do take that money and I do turn it into doing stuff for the channel. Um, and that's just what it goes to. It goes back to everybody else. It doesn't go to me. So I make sure I invest it in the channel somehow, some way, and that's just what it is. You guys see when I send gifts out to people and stuff like that, they're not cheap gifts. They're name brand, good quality stuff that I've used that I trust, and that's what I typically use the money for. Is people that I give stuff away to on the channel that could use it, that gift it to them. But I appreciate you. Thank you. Just appreciate all of y'all tonight. This was an amazing chat tonight. We answered a lot of questions. When I load the video up, anybody that has questions where they want to email me, I'll have my email in the message box so you guys can get a hold of me. Mark, I appreciate you, man. I'm sorry that I don't probably didn't answer your question like you wanted or not. I'm not sure. I didn't see a response on yours. Could it be a accelerator pedal position? Kind of intermittent glitch, something that APP1 and APP2 is not liking, and they're not correlating with each other properly. I've seen that happen before, but anyway, y'all be blessed. Have a great night. I'll see y'all tomorrow. About 9 o'clock tomorrow. Maybe not. Maybe I don't know if you guys want to do it a little bit earlier. You want to do it like 8 o'clock tomorrow instead of 9, or do you want to do it at 9 o'clock tomorrow? What do you want to do? Can I go to Lowe's? 9. So Peter says 9. 9. 9, 9, 9, 9. I'm not Hitler. Pup says 8. Everybody else says 9. Pups has to be different. 9, 9, 9. 9 works for me. 9? So 9 it is tomorrow. We'll do this again 9 my time tomorrow. We'll be back here at 9. All right, guys. Have a great night. See you all tomorrow.